Hey guys, it's Destiny, and today I thought we'd do tier list review again because the tier list actually did get updated from last time, and I know I already did a recent tier list review, but the whole thing got revamped, so I thought we'd revisit it, and I thought I'd give my thoughts and also ask you guys how you guys feel about certain characters being placed where they are. I am a bit sick right now, so if I do sound a little different, that's why. But I do want us to just, as usual, come together as a community and just talk about the tier list, of course, and just give our thoughts. And if you guys do enjoy videos like these, do make sure to subscribe, leave a like to support the video, and without further ado, let's get straight into it. So as you guys can see, Pride One now has a Memory of Chaos section and a Pure Fiction section, which I think is super cool. They also added a specialist section right here where they renamed it and moved around a few characters. And I thought we would actually go over the criteria super fast right here, just because some people do ask me, what is the criteria for these characters being ranked where they are? So it is based on manual play, using optimal team comps, level 80, all major traces and skills upgraded to level 8, they are equipped with 5-star upgraded gear, optimal main and substats, Eidolon level 0 for 5 stars, Eidolon level 6 for the 4 stars for the list we'll be looking at. And then also there is flexibility, the investment, damage dealer, specialist, amplifier, and sustain. So now that we've gone over the criteria for everyone that was curious, let's actually get into the tier list now, which to begin, we have our damage dealer, specialist, amplifier, and sustain. For Memory of Chaos, not much has changed from what I'm seeing here. As we see, Jing Liu is an S plus tier. I do agree with this because she has honestly been super good, especially in this Memory of Chaos. And in the S section, we have Dan Hongil, Xing Shui, and also Zila. Now, I know Xing Shui is a little debatable for a lot of people. I actually built her myself recently, and I personally do really like her. And I'm kind of curious where you guys would place her, either based on what you've seen or your own experiences. I do think her damage is definitely S tier worthy for what she's able to do, especially at E6. But if I'm being honest, sometimes the consistency can kind of be a problem because I've noticed that when I play Xing Shui, sometimes I'll get the matching tiles, sometimes I won't have enough energy for the ultimate to guarantee the tiles. Let's say I had 3 skill points and I don't end up getting matching tiles. And when I do attack with that one singular tile hit, it does feel pretty mediocre in comparison to, of course, when you do have the matching tiles, which is why people make the joke that she's either a 3-star or a 6-star in disguise. I personally think, though, she can either be S tier, or if there was an A plus tier, I would put her there. But that's just my personal thoughts after playing with her. If you guys do have any Xing Shui tips, I'm all for it, because I'm just trying to improve when I do play Xing Shui. Zila, I would say, is definitely a powerhouse. I still think she is super valuable. I know a lot of people are kind of iffy on Zila nowadays, but personally, I still think she's awesome. So I think S tier is okay. Don Hongil is really good as well. I do think his skill point consumption can kind of be annoying at times. And if you're not always using 3 skills for the maximum enhanced basic attack every single time, you can just create an overall good rotation with him. It just really depends on your team comp. And then we have Argenti, Blade, Clara, and Tingyun. Clara is also another character that's pretty situational. I personally love using her. I think she's really strong. But the problem is with Clara, if for whatever reason your Clara does not get hit, which this occasionally happens, it's not as common, but there's still a probability of her potentially not getting hit, which have happened a few times for me. That's when Clara's value is kind of iffy, but overall, she's definitely a strong physical unit for sure. So I think she's worthy of an A+. I think Clara is kind of slept on a lot of the time because of the fact of how she works. Clara, I would say, though, can be pretty consistent, especially if you do use a character like Lynx to apply even more likelihood of being hit onto Clara. I think Clara is a really good physical character. Argenti is definitely awesome. He just wipes the floor. He does so much damage. So I feel like he could be in an A+ or potentially maybe up here, but that's just my thoughts. I think Argenti's really strong. Blade has what a lot of DPS characters don't have, which I guess Clara can also fit in this boat, but Blade and Clara, in a sense, have a better survivability than a lot of the other DPS characters, which I feel like a lot of people do sometimes overlook this factor. Blade is able to heal himself with his kit, and he is, constantly losing health and gaining health, but he still ends up getting a good amount of survivability just within his own kit. So then if you do pair him with a really good healer, let's say Luocha or even Lynx is now free, and Lynx is a really good partner for Blade, especially if you want Blade to do as many follow-ups as possible. Lynx is definitely the one to use for that. Yeah, Blade's pretty good. I like Blade personally. And I think he could be either up here or potentially even over here if you just consider the survivability factor as a part for making Blade be higher. If we were to look at the B tier, it's all right for the most part. The C and the D is all right, I guess, as well. I don't really have too much to say about that. Now, if we were to look at the specialist section, which got reworded, we have Kafka and Topaz in S tier. Kafka, as we know, is the queen of damage over time, and Topaz, as we know, is the queen for follow-ups. So I think both of these characters, when it comes to follow-ups and when it comes to damage over time, they play their roles very, very well. And I cannot wait to see Topaz as well with Dr. Ratio. I think that'll be really good. Then we have Luca and Xueyi. It still kind of makes me curious about this placement in particular, but I think this is all right. Xueyi at E6 is really good though, so I don't know. Maybe I would feel like maybe you could bump these two up and then put Xueyi in S. I think Xueyi is really strong, and one thing I really don't agree with though is Welt in B tier, because if we're looking at this from the aspect of ideal team comps, if you guys have ever played Ruan Mei plus Welt, the enemy just takes forever to move, and at that point you kind of just win as long as you kill them, which should be pretty obtainable for the most part. So I feel like Welt can definitely be up here, but that's just my thoughts. You guys can let me know what you think. Sampo being in B hurts my soul because I recently did a Sampo showcase in a PvP cup, but Sampo can maybe be bumped up. He's really good with his damage over time vulnerability. I feel like Luca and Sampo can be in the same tier because of how they operate. Like, you would use Luca if they are physical weak, and you would use Sampo if they're wind weak, but that's just kind of how I see it. I think Fire MC being C is interesting. I feel like Fire MC is still a really good character, but I guess they're just in C tier. I don't know. You guys can let me know what you think about that one. Okay, so now we have the Amplifier, Bronya, Ruan Mei, Pilla, Silverwolf, Tingyun. I can get down with this. I think in S+, it's definitely Bronya and Ruan Mei right now. They're just on the top of the board. Really, really freaking good. Pilla, Silverwolf, and Tingyun, I can agree with all three of these being in the same tier. Silverwolf and Pela do often get compared to one another, but I feel like that it's more circumstantial which one is better than the other. So in highly AoE scenarios, Pela is definitely the one you may want to look at more. And let's say if there was just two elites that you're fighting, maybe you would just want to use Silverwolf instead, especially if a duo element team or a mono team, I'm not too sure. It just kind of depends on what you're running on your team. But Silverwolf is definitely really good for her utility overall. Tingyun is awesome. We love the energy. She's always been a great 4-star, and I'm a huge fan of her. Same with Pela. Her defense shred is awesome. Asta and Hanya are in A tier. I guess that's okay for the most part. These two can go hand in hand. It's circumstantial which one is better than the other to put on a team comp. And then we have Gunnaifen and Yukong. So what I'm really interested about is why I guess Gunnaifen is an amplifier rather than specialist. But I guess it's mainly because she does allow your team to deal more damage to an enemy. So I can kind of see that why she's in this tier instead. She also has burn, and I think Gunnaifen is a really good character as well, especially for damage over time teams and even regular teams because of what she does. I'm a huge fan of Gunnaifen too. Yukong is so hit or miss for me, you guys. Like, I love Yukong, but the problem is she requires a good amount of speed tuning to have her operate, I guess, the way she's supposed to, because ideally you want her faster than your main DPS, or if you do dual DPS, then faster than your two DPS characters, so that she can give them the attack buff and then also that crit rate and crit damage buff. It just requires a lot of speed tuning, and like, I don't personally think she's a bad character by any means. I used to use a Clara, Yukong, Luocha, and Silverwolf team. That team was really good, and it still is pretty good if I were to use it now. So I feel like Yukong has certain levels or certain themes that she's really good in, but it's pretty circumstantial. Will Yukong be able to benefit your team more than, hypothetically, Pela, or more than Tingyun? That's, I guess, where the question would come in, how good Yukong is. I think she's pretty good, but circumstantially good, I suppose. And just, it is a little more difficult to use her in comparison to other characters. You just really have to keep in mind the speed tuning. Then we have our sustains. I don't really have many thoughts on this. I do think it's interesting that Fu Xuan is an S+. I personally think all three of these characters can still be an S+, but that's just my thought. I think they all have their own benefits for the most part. I use them all interchangeably. It literally just depends on which sustain I think would honestly just be better for the comp. Lynx is an A. Lynx is definitely really good. Her cleansing is really nice. We all get a free Lynx as well, so that's pretty good. Bailu and Japard being in the same tier, I guess I can maybe agree with this. I do think Bailu and Japard are a little bit slept on, but I guess it's mainly because if you do compare them, I suppose, to our top sustains, that's where they may feel a bit lacking. I don't know. I feel like they can all be an A, but that's just my thought. I do think Bailu's revive is pretty useful because if your team does get knocked out and Bailu just revives you, this is just really nice overall. So March and Natasha, I guess I can agree with this. But yeah, that's the Maria Chaos tier list. Let me know what you guys think. Now let's go on to pure fiction real quick, and then we'll wrap things up. Argenti Herta S+, I totally agree. The S tiers, I also agree. I do think it's interesting though that Blade, Tingyun, Clara, and Jingliu are below Zila, but Resurgence is still very, very powerful in pure fiction, especially if you take advantage of it by killing those little mobs and just continuously using Zila. I guess this is all right for the most part. I don't play pure fiction too much. I've played it a few times, but I haven't been able to test every comp. Kafka, I could definitely see an S tier though. I think she's a pretty good spot when it comes to pure fiction. Fire MC's A tier. Then we have Sampo, Topaz, Welt, and Xueyi. I still feel like Welt could be a little higher, but at the end of the day, in pure fiction, you do want to beat them as fast as you can. So delaying them can be beneficial, but at the same time, maybe you want to prioritize just dealing as much damage as you can. Or I guess a DPS Welt would come in pretty handy for this, but I could see why he could potentially be B. I could still maybe see A though. And then Luca and Sushang are down here. I mean, I can totally understand it. Sushang can maybe get away with a little more because she has that combo of her skill and her ultimate to go again, and then her skill again. So that's effectively 3 hits in one go. If she doesn't have her ultimate ready, that's when it can get a little trickier. But it just kind of depends on what enemies are weak to at the end of the day as well. Then we have Xueyi and Ruan Mei, Asta, and Tingyun. Asta I could definitely see being very good in this mode because of the fact that she speeds the team up. So because of that, this can allow you to potentially go more within those pure fiction cycles. And the attack buff is really nice. I would also put Pela up here because I feel like the defense drop on everyone is really strong. And this is where everyone else is. I think it's all right for the most part. We have Fuxuan and Huohuo as S+ sustain and S, which is not even there. They actually dropped him down to A. So with Fuxuan and Huohuo, I can kind of see them being a bit better when it comes to pure fiction because Fuxuan's able to increase the crit rate of the team. He also has an ultimate that hits all enemies, similarly to Luocha, but I can see where Fuxuan can potentially be better here. And then also with Huohuo, he's able to give the team energy and also attack buff, which is very valuable because this can allow you to potentially use another ultimate or get really close to another ultimate that can make or break your run, hypothetically here. So I can see why. I would probably bump him up to S though, and then like bump everyone up there. So like everyone here in A. I didn't even notice Silverwolf was in C. Oh my goodness, I did not scroll down enough. Silverwolf in C is, I guess, it is understandable because of the fact that pure fiction, once again, is so AoE centric right now that Silverwolf kind of feels a little bit rough in the mode for at least right now. So I can see why she's over here. But yeah, that's the tier list, you guys. What do you guys think? I think I've asked that at least 20 times. I'm sorry. I am drinking my coffee, so I'm getting a little hyper. My bad, you guys. Be sure to give your full thoughts. I'd love to know what you guys think. And if you guys disagree with some of my takes, I'm also down to hear that as well. And just let each other know what we think, because that's the whole point of this video, for all of us to share our thoughts. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video though. Make sure to subscribe if you did, leave a like as well. And I hope to see you all next time. Peace.